I would like to call this morning's meeting of the IDA, January 22nd, 2025 to order. Can we have a roll call attendance?
Margaret Morris.
Here.
Kamal Johnson.
Present.
Heather Campbell.
Here.
Charles Millar.
Here.
Dominic Moranti.
Here.
Cheryl Casluga. Randall Martin. Those are absent. We have a quorum.
All right, quorum is present. Now we'll start the annual meeting by appointing officers. The positions will be chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. And at the end of all of the appointments, we'll make one motion to approve everything. Do you have any nominations?
Nominate for chair again.
I second that nomination.
Vice chair?
I nominate Dominic. It's a big day for me. I second.
Secretary?
I think we can keep Slate. I nominate Margaret.
Second. Treasurer, Heather?
Surprise, surprise.
Can I have a motion to appoint all of those officers?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We need a roll call vote in there. All right, we need to confirm the address, City of Hudson Industrial Development Agency, City Hall, 520 Warren Street, Hudson, New York, 12534. Attention, Treasurer's Office.
Can we comment on this? So confirmed.
Yeah, I need a motion a second.
You don't have to, no, you
Okay,
can just,
go
as long
for it.
as you're confirming it.
All right, we'll confirm the meeting address, CEDC office, 1 Hudson City Center, Suite 301, Hudson, New York, 12534. And we will confirm the online meeting platform is Zoom. We designate the regular meeting dates of the agency for 2025 as the first Wednesday of each month at 10:30 a.m.
Is there any way we could move that up a little earlier? Like at the start of the day, because 10:30 kind of takes some breaks up the morning. Can you make it, any objections to making it earlier?
7:30?
No. Oh, yeah, 6. Let's go for 6.
Can't do that.
6 p.m. I'll do.
We want to shoot for 9:30.
Are you okay with that? Yeah. Dominic?
Yeah.
9:30? Yeah.
That, I mean, we had, that was early. It was 9:30 before.
Yeah, that's too 9:30. Thank you.
So confirm the changes to the regular meeting dates of the agency for 2025 as the first Wednesday of each month at 9:30 a.m. Okay, the motion and second to confirm all the above.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we will appoint the governance committee. Any recommendations?
Can we just refresh our memories on who is on each of the committees right now?
And do you have that? I believe on governance.
You are, so is Randall and Dominic.
Sorry?
Randall, Dominic, and Kamal.
I would nominate myself to continue on governance.
You okay, Dominic?
Yeah.
Ron is not here. I don't want to do them.
Audit committee, it should be anyone except Heather.
You cannot be on it, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Right, so we had last year was the mayor, Charles, and Randall.
I will serve again.
And Charles wants to serve again.
Correct.
Can we nominate Randall? It's not here.
Yeah, so we'll nominate Randall to continue.
Rush.
Can't say. Can't say what I used to say.
All right, finance committee,
It's Heather.
Heather and Margaret and Dominic was last year.
You want to keep the same?
Sure.
All right. We designate the Register Star as the official newspaper of the agency. All right, I need a motion and a second to confirm all the above.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we will pause the IDA full board meeting for committee meetings, starting with the government's committee. I will open as acting chair of the governance committee. I nominate Dominic
No, you were acting so well.
as chair.
I think Margaret wants to be chair.
I'm not on that committee.
Yeah,
you are.
you just
You are.
joined.
Just volunteer,
Welcome
sorry.
aboard.
My mistake.
You might be chair.
Wait a minute, on audit?
Okay.
Hold on, I can't get this up. So on audit. we
I thought
have-
you were doing governance.
Governance.
Are you doing governance?
Yeah, we
Okay.
started governance.
Okay, so. Let's go back. Who's gonna be chair of that one?
Margaret, I
Okay.
believe.
Yeah. Okay, but
Thanks.
All right, floor is yours, Margaret.
Margaret, you're the
Margaret.
chair now. You have to-
Yeah, the floor is
Oh,
yours.
well, I
She's
don't
new.
have the report.
Let's give
so-
her a break.
The items
That's
on,
the third one.
the items on the committee charter. Were there any changes, Lisa?
No,
There were no changes from last year, so that the state requires us to re-adopt our charter every year.
Okay,
So if we call for a motion to
yeah,
approve the
so
charter.
Dominic can come out, motion to adopt the charter,
I'll make the motion.
I second.
and we're all in favor.
Aye.
Also in your packet is a discharge of duties report. And Lisa, that simply reports on the activities
done.
of the committee in 2024.
correct.
And we also need to have you approve that so we can file it with the authority budget office of the state of New York.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve this? I did read it before coming, and I didn't have any,
I'll make that motion.
I second.
all in favor, aye?
I need the compliance calendar.
Anything else that we need to cover, Mike?
The
Compliance
compliance calendar.
calendar. Need a motion to accept it. I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Discharge.
Anything else?
Review of the statement of internal controls and committee evaluation, Lisa, is that correct?
The
This is
discharge.
the full
duties.
board, isn't it?
Oh, is that?
So we're at public comments now?
Yes.
Any
Yes.
Public comments?
Yeah, there's nothing else.
No comments? So we have a motion to.
I'll make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor, aye?
All right, as acting chair, I will, well, actually, should have it with finance.
Okay.
Re-elect the committee chair.
Yes, so first order of business for the the IDA Finance Committee is to elect a chair for the coming term. Anyone?
Oh, well, yes, I would like to nominate you as chair.
Well. Any other nominations? Dominic?
Oh, I thought Randall was on, I'm sorry.
It's you, finance is.
Okay, I thought, okay, no, yeah, no, I second.
All in favor, aye?
Yeah.
Aye, okay. Can I have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as so attached?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I do not believe there have been any modifications to the finance charter. May I have a second and a motion to accept?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Treasurer's report, so here's the P and L and the balance sheet as of December 2024. Nothing much new here, all the usual expenditures, the administrative expense, which is CEDC, the audit fees, which is obviously the audit, and then legal fees, which is primarily for Shaw. And then under the income, sorry, I did a little backwards, we had a small amount in application fees, some interest, and then of course the lease income that comes from the Hudson Terrace. We also had the Hudson Terrace pilot payment, and you will see that that amount is replicated in the expenditures because whatever comes in goes out. And that was not distributed as of December 2024, but it has since been distributed. In terms of the balance sheet, so you can see for a net loss of roughly $20,000. Sitting on a goodly amount of cash, which we should probably talk about. The balance of that are the various escrow accounts. We still continue to have a couple that are in deficit, so.
Right. We, most of them are under $500, so we're working with them to get those cleared up.
Okay, great. Very little else going on. The land will obviously be coming off of the balance sheet once we finalize the transaction with North Bay. And, you know, the counterbalance on the liability side, there's all the equities, there's all the escrow, so there's escrow liabilities, the pilot's payable, and again, on this side, the fixed asset will be coming off once the land transfer to CLC is complete. Net income, as it said on the balance sheet, of slightly under $20,000. Anybody on the finance committee have any questions about that?
So that 19 is coming from the housing development.
Yes.
19, yeah.
Mhm.
No,
If there are no other questions on the report, can I have a motion and a second to accept it and provide it to the council, the full board?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, can we please review the 2024 discharge duties? So for the finance committee, elected the chair, removed the charter, did the evaluations, recommended the financials to the full board, recommended the 24 budget, and reviewed the 23 discharge duties. Can I have a motion and a second to accept the discharge duties?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And unless the committee has any other comments or questions, I will open it up for public comment. Having no public comment, can I have a motion and a second to?
Second.
Thank you.
As acting chair of the audit committee, I would like to call this meeting to order. I would like to nominate Randall Martin for chair of the audit committee. Well,
That's what you get.
The next person to walk in.
All in favor?
Aye.
The audit committee charter is the first item on the agenda. It's in the packet, and we recommend that you call a motion to approve the charter.
Do I have to open that meeting, though, right?
I already opened it.
You opened the meeting?
Yeah.
So can I have a motion to amend the charter?
Approve the charter.
Approve the charter.
There are no changes to it from last year.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then the next item is to approve the discharge of duties as outlined in the report. They include the activities of the committee from 2024 to submit to the state.
I'll make a motion. Oh,
I'll
I have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Lisa,
The audit date,
you have the 2025 audit proposal from RBT
It's in the package.
in the package.
It's a package, yeah. Big package. I remember right, it was for $8,000.
Which is the same as last year.
Are we looking for an approval?
Yes.
To pay it?
I'll make that motion
To engage the
to
auditor.
engage.
Okay. So we have a motion to engage the auditor, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
We've done the engagement letter, the minutes, approve the minutes of the April 3rd, 2024 meeting.
We have a motion to approve the minutes,
I'll make that motion.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
And public comments and adjournment.
Any public comments online? No. Well, if that's, no public comment,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.
I will make a motion to restart the full board meeting.
Mr. Chairman, the items, operation accomplishments, full board discharge duties, performance measure report, compliance calendar, mission statement, and performance goals, investment report, and minutes of the October 2nd meeting under consent agenda can be approved with one vote.
I have a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We had administrative director's report.
The first item, Mr. Chairman, is to ask the full board to approve the recommendation of the audit committee to engage the auditor.
Have a motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We have a number of items to present to you today. One being the report from DJH Advisors with respect to the 75 North 7th Street project. They're going to join us in 5 minutes on Zoom. Dan Kent is here representing the applicant, and he has a brief introductory presentation once they get online. I want them to hear your presentation, Dan. So I will move into the other project updates, and I'm pleased to report that the Columbia Land Conservancy North Bay project closed in December. And that we want to thank Chriselle and all of the members of the agency for their work in bringing that to a conclusion.
When in December?
I have the date now, but I don't remember. I thought it was like 17th.
17th.
Something.
Okay, because we should probably revamp the 24 financials then, because it shouldn't be on books at the end of the year if it was sold.
Okay.
So if you can give me that info.
We have heard from the developers of Providence Hall and Skylar Court. They are planning to proceed with closing the IDA financing with respect to their project. You'll recall, because of issues not only with New York State, but with HUD, there was a delay which forced them to get a bridge loan to purchase the project. And they are now moving forward with their construction financing so that they can begin the rehab of the project and the permanent financing going forward. The agency had completed all of the action with respect to the approvals of that project that we are aware of. And I believe that unless they come back to us, there's no further approvals required by the agency. Is that correct, Chris?
Yes, we'll have to get a confirmation from them as to what their current financing plan is in order to confirm that.
Great. We mentioned that we were going to hear from the Depot District 75 North 7th and the BH advisors shortly. Pocketbook Factory project continues. We understand that 620 Union Street, Hudson House, the project that the IDA had approved 3.5 years ago, but the time limit is up, and if they are interested in proceeding with the IDA going forward, they would need to reapply. But they did receive a $500,000 grant from Empire State Development and the New York State construction, Arts Council Construction Fund. I did have a contact this week from Caseta. It's the California company that has acquired the Elks Club at 601 Union. And they have gone through their, I guess, zoning board of appeals review and their historic commission approvals. And they are looking to meet next week with me to go over the draft IDA application in the anticipation of submitting it. We do have a February 5th meeting. I'm not sure that it will be in time for us to have it a week in advance for your review. So I would expect that that application would be first considered in March. We did receive an application from Crescent for the Crescent project located on Warren Street in the old Ackerman building. The application is in your packet, and in the back of your packet, the developer, the Crescent Building Redevelopment Project. It's a $14.8 million project. The applicant is Top of Warren Property Brothers LLC. The principals of that limited liability company are Ian Haig, Christopher Perry, and Daniel McCabe. Their plan is to renovate the building into a mixed-use facility. It would have open space, gallery space, residential apartments, and special event space on a added rooftop component to the building. It's currently vacant and needs significant renovation for use. And it will be carefully restored with mindful historic rehab to create a new mixed-use resource for Hudson. In connection with their request, to the agency, they have requested the mortgage recording tax exemption. They've asked for the sales tax exemption for construction, and they've requested a pilot payment structure. The pilot payment structure that they're requesting is consistent with the agency's uniform tax exemption policy, which is a mirror image of Section 45B of the real property tax law, which provides that once an assessment is established for the renovated project based on a valuation, which would be based on discounted cash flow for 10 years, that a fixed pilot payment structure would be established. It would represent a 50% discount or exemption in the first year, down to a 0 exemption in the 10th year. They have estimated in their application, and we received the application late last week. So Chris Shell and I still are reviewing it to see if it's complete, but they indicate in their application that the pilot benefit would result in a $200,000 tax benefit over the 10 years. They estimate real property tax without IDA investment at $836,000, with the new pilot payments totaling $635,000. So it's approximately $200,000 of IDA benefit.
What's that address again?
The address, it's the old Ackerman building across from
Corner of Mason and Warren.
Okay,
it's across the street from Social Security,
okay.
which I recently got the privilege of starting to receive. In their application, our plan would be for Chris and I to review it, determine whether it's complete or not. If it's complete, recommend a resolution at the next meeting to accept it. If not, we would ask them to correct any deficiencies and approve it at the April meeting.
So my question on accepting the application, that is a vote to also to approve and to, correct or not?
No, Chris can.
That's just,
No,
Chris, you wanna-
so the first step, right, the first step is really to determine if the application is complete, then you need to undertake the fiscal and economic analysis that is part of your UTEP. What you would do is, once you have a complete application, you can schedule a public hearing. And in scheduling the public hearing, we need to provide certain information as part of that public hearing. Certain information about the project to the other taxing jurisdictions. So we need to make sure that we have all of that necessary information in the process. And Michael, on this project, do you want to speak to how you propose to do the evaluation? You're going to use the tool that the CEDC created? Or you're still
You may
want to
recall-
review it? Do you want to review it and then determine that?
Our thought was that you may recall that when we went through the evaluation of creating the new matrix as to how the agency would evaluate projects, Jessica Gabriel developed a economic development model that we felt was superior to any thing that we had seen from several of the consultants that we had used in the past, other than the consultant we've used for housing. And our thought would be to present that to you to see if you feel that it's robust enough to make an effective evaluation. And if you want us to go ahead and contract with a company like Camoin or Victoria Store or MRB, firms we've all used in the past, and we can show you their analysis that we're that they would be presenting to us on future projects. We can do that, and as you know, they are contracted by the agency, but they're paid for by the developer. You know, our thought was that we're trying to look for a consistent evaluation process. Some of those evaluations get right down to the sales tax on the coffee cup that the construction worker bought off the food truck. And, you know, some of it is, in my view, very fluff. And, but we did speak, Margaret Morris and I and Sarah Sterling, representing the county IDA, attended the New York State Economic Development Council's annual IDA Academy. And we did hear a presentation, and I did discuss this with our council as it relates to establish in reviewing these projects, that we also look at what other cost impacts there are to a community, whether that be fire, police, public utility services, to include those into the analysis, as well as the intangible benefits of getting a cup of sales tax from the cup of coffee from the food truck. So we'll be working on that to present to the agency, but yes, no, I think it really will be up to you as members of the agency to determine whether in every instance a third-party independent analysis is required, or whether that's something that can be done in a more thorough and robust way with our own model.
and so before we make that decision, we will have that matrix
Right.
reviewed
Yeah.
with your analysis, right?
And we'll show you basically what the others have done in the past, but, you know, and I think the real analysis comes down to what you're giving up and what you're getting. And when you look at what the city receives, on the mortgage recording tax exemption, you get state and county split 50-50, and the county gives you 50% of their half, so you get 25%. But you get 100% of the IDA fee, which is 1%. Although that goes into the IDA, not into the city coffers. On the sales tax, you're giving up 13%. You're giving up 6% of the 8% sales tax benefit, because county gets 50% of the sales tax, they get 4%, and you get 13% approximately of the county sales tax. And so then, what percentage of the pilot are you giving up? And so, looking at it on that basis and then looking at what the school district is giving up and recognizing that many of these projects are in abandoned or vacant buildings, that, even when you take the pilot benefit in year one and you compare it to what each of the taxing jurisdictions would be receiving on a proportionate basis if the project was not built, then you'll still see that there's a greater amount of taxes being collected than if in most instances, because we don't allow a project to get a benefit where the initial tax pilot payment is below what they're paying now. So I think it becomes an evaluation, and it's a gamble because you don't know what might come next year and be put in that building. But it's something that should go into your evaluation. What are the likelihood that something more appropriate to your policy or more beneficial to the city could come at a later date? And what's the risk you're giving by not accepting the project that's being proposed? Our apologies to Elaine from PJH. We were going to start, good morning, welcome.
Hello.
We were going to start by having Dan Kent from the developer, 75 North 7th Street, give a brief overview and set the stage for your analysis. The board has a copy of it as well as a copy of your talking points. So Dan?
Good morning, everyone. Someone be able to share these slides. That we
No,
just
we're not
reviewed.
able.
That's
Wait,
fine.
I think
I'll
Chris, Chris is going to try, but
That's fine. if
we
everyone-
do have copies in front of
Oh,
the board.
fantastic.
Okay, here we go.
So just for a very brief kind of refresher for everyone of what we're proposing, we are proposing housing and commercial space at 75 North 7th Street. You can see it from the window here. It's right across the street from 76 North 7th, which is a 63 unit building that was made possible in part by a pilot agreement from this IDA. So on the next page, you'll see a brief overview of the housing that's proposed. The project includes 38 one-bedroom apartments, 29 two-bedrooms, and 8 three-bedrooms, as well as 4,000 square feet of ground floor commercial space that can be divided in up to 4 separate spaces. 20% of the units have a rent limit affordable to households earning up to 80% of the area median income, which depending on household size can range from $57,800 to $89,200 per year. Another 5% of the units have a rent cap at 130% of the area median income. And then the remaining 75% of units are market rate. If you go to the next slide, you'll just see a reminder of the site plan for the project. This is the site plan that was approved by the City of Hudson Planning Board. The exterior design also received approval from the City of Hudson Historic Preservation Commission. As you can see, it's on 7th Street, again, right across the street from the building that is going up at 76 North 7th, and it's also right next to the fire department. You go to the next slide, you get to see the exterior renderings. This is part of our Depot District neighborhood revitalization project. So as you'll see, it features a similar red brick that we're using at 76 North 7th, which is meant to reflect the brick color of the Depot building, which we restored just recently. It is now the home of the Upper Depot Brewing Company. On the left, that's the front elevation, and then on the right, you'll see the elevation of the rear yard. And then next slide, just to give you all a very brief update on how things are going with 76 North 7th. I'm sure you've noticed it going up. There are 63 units planned in that building. 20% of those units are set aside for households earning up to 80% of the area median income. There are 5 1,000 square foot commercial spaces on the ground floor, which we're in the process of leasing. And we started construction in October 2023, and we are still on pace for a completion in July 2025. So that's where we are in the project. For 75 North 7th, the reason we're coming to you is because in order for us to construct this project, not only do we need to secure a $16 million loan from a bank, we also need to secure approximately $8.5 million in equity investments from private investors. In order, construction projects are risky, particularly when they're in a community that's outside of a major metro area like New York City. So in order to get investors to take that risk, when they have the option of putting it in the stock market or putting it in a bank account that's going to give them a 4% return, they're taking a risk. And in order to take that risk, they need to see an appropriate return. So the reason we need this pilot agreement is to get us to that return threshold so we can raise that $8.5 million and build this building. So thank you. And so,
Ask a question. It's not about 75. On your slide about 76, you refer to them as workforce and the market rate. I thought that there were 12 reserved for moderate and 51 for middle, and middle income is defined as 130.
oh, so that's
So
it's both. Right now, 130% of the area median income
it's
that exceeds market rate. So, but yes, you're correct. These are capped at 130%.
also units are capped at.
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Thank you.
And the AMI, is that county AMI or city AMI?
Okay.
County, okay.
They don't, it's the HUD rule to use the county.
Okay.
On behalf of the chair, I invite our consultant. And if you introduce yourself, give us a quick snapshot of your background and your firm, and then go right into your report, which, as I said, they have in front of them.
Thank you, Mike. Hello, everyone. My name is Elena Gikia. I work at BJH Advisors. I'm also joined here by the principal of BJH Advisors, Maggie Height. We are a New York City-based real estate development and advisory firm. We have extensive experience in financial analyses, public and private partnerships, and also tax incentives. And we were engaged by the Hudson IDA to evaluate the application on behalf of the 75 North 7th Street for the IDA benefits. And our role in this process was to assess the necessity of the requested property tax exemption and determine whether these benefits are critical to the project's financial sustainability. So I think you'll have a summary of the report that we produced. So I'll just go quickly through that. The project, as Dan explained, is a mixed income housing development with 75 units. 15 of these are set at 80% AMI and 5 units are capped at 130 AMI. The rest of the units are market rate, and the project also includes 4,000 square feet of commercial space on the ground floor with amenities. The development entity will be formed, 75 North 7 LLC will be formed by Gallon Initiatives Foundation, Baxter Construction, and their equity partners. So BJH began our evaluation by reviewing the project's pro forma structure that we received from the developer. We confirmed that the pro forma was appropriately integrating income, expense, and return calculations. The net operating income assumptions also aligned with both the project's metrics and the market benchmarks. The calculations for debt service coverage ratios and cash-on-cash returns were consistent with industry standards and were used as the preliminary basis for our analysis, and also with the revisions incorporated as needed. So as a next step, we examined the project's income assumptions, which included both residential and commercial rents. Galvin's residential rent projections were derived from a market study that they conducted. BJH also conducted our own research on rents in the area using CoStar and also comparable like newer developments. And we concluded that the market rates for Galvin's projected rents were slightly below comparable market rates. For example, 1-bedrooms were projected at $2,000, which is around 7% below market rate, and 2 and 3 bedrooms were priced at $2,500 and $3,000, both around 6% below market rate. So BJH recommended adjusting these to reflect rent escalations by the time the project is going to be completed, and also take into considerations that this will be a newer development with amenities, so would be also slightly higher than the existing market. The 4,000 square feet of commercial space was targeted at around $25 per square foot. And based on our research through CoStar, these projections are matching the trends in the local market. So we don't recommend any revisions to the commercial rents. We then reviewed the project costs and expense assumptions. The construction costs were initially estimated at around $206,000 per unit, and then were revised, I believe, due to an oversight in the pro forma, and were projected at around $267,000 per unit. These costs were prepared by Baxter Construction, and given their experience, we believe that this is a valid projection for the construction costs. The replacement reserves were estimated at $250 per unit annually, and this also aligns with New York State HCR standards. We also looked at the property taxes, which also represent a significant operating expense. The project's assessed value was initially calculated at $113,000 per unit using an income-based approach with a 10.8 capitalization rate. And the original pilot schedule that was requested by Galvin proposes an escalated tax payment over 20 years, starting with 5% of full property taxes in year 1 and incrementally increasing to 95 by year 20. So this would come out to the total nominal benefit of around $3.02 million, and the net present value would be around $2.57 million using a 2% discount rate. So BJH assessed the project's financial returns to answer the key question if the project could potentially afford a higher or more quickly escalating pilot. Based on our research and assessment, we found that the pilot schedule included in the application was warranted in the first 15 years because the benefit amount was needed to meet the threshold for the debt service coverage ratio of 1.25 in year 1. We also updated Galvin's income assumptions with increased rents, as our research indicated, to predict the project's net operating income. Like this, the project would achieve a debt service coverage ratio exceeding 1.39 from year 1, and cash-on-cash returns of 9.7% year 15. So these metrics indicate that the project is financially viable and can support a shorter pilot schedule than 20-year schedule. So based on these findings, we found that a 15-year pilot structure is sufficient for this project because the debt service coverage ratio consistently exceeds 1.39 after year one, and this also indicates a strong debt payment capability, while cash-on-cash returns and yield on cost steadily increase. Therefore, we recommended an alternative 15-year pilot that would yield a total benefit NPV of approximately 2.25 million, and the nominal value of this would be around 2.6 million instead of 3 million, what originally was requested. So to conclude, I think the 15-year pilot schedule would also meet the developer's financial requirements and also reduce the expense from the city side. We produced a report. It's a full report that we shared with you. Yeah, that was our analysis. Mike, would you like to add anything?
So we just appreciate your efforts. We know that you had prepared the report for the, I always get the addresses mixed up now because they changed them, but for the 76 North 7th Street, formerly 708 State. And we were grateful that you were able to do the analysis consistent with the model that you used in that process. To turn it back to the chair to see if the agency members have any questions.
Any questions from the committee?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. One of the things, as Mike referenced at the state IDA training session that we went to, was a presentation from an IDA, I think in Portchester, that had a mechanism, they had a matrix for assessing the actual cost to the city, particularly in relation to housing, but also other developments, but the actual cost to the city. So you can look at the pilot in terms of just looking at the tax that you would get through the pilot versus what you would get if it was market taxes. But there are also other costs associated with population, including, you know, fire, infrastructure, roads, schools, and so forth. And so I would like to see if we can get some estimate using that methodology on cost to the city. That was one of the things we had talked about, Mike, so that we can actually evaluate, you know, costs to us as opposed to monies we're going to be getting in a pilot. The other kind of fundamental, more philosophical question that I have is that close to 70%, I think, of the units in this development are true market rate. They're not tied to income. So that can be whatever the market dictates. And so I understand the value, particularly when you talk about housing, the social value of doing support for housing that is linked to income. But if a developer is going to do true market rate housing, I am not so clear that there needs to be public investment for market rate building. If it's not going to be financially viable to the developer to make sufficient profit on market rate housing, then they won't develop it. But I'm not quite clear on why we would give a pilot for what is predominantly market rate housing. And that's something I'd like us to discuss. And yes, there's the question of the social value potentially, but I think we have to look at the mix of housing that we have, some of the housing that's already going up, that's in the works, and whether or not we should be investing, providing basically financial benefits to a developer to do private market rate housing. So those are my two main questions, really. One more philosophical than the other. And I'm hoping we can get the matrix from Portchester so that we can maybe look at doing that assessment.
Yes, I have a call into their executive director, as well as the report that we had commissioned through Pattern for Progress. We should have for the next meeting, which was to take a look at what is the housing profile and mix in Hudson as it exists today, and what might it look like based on proposed projects that have been announced both by the Housing Authority and private developers. I guess I would defer to the consultants. Aline, do you have any thoughts on the observations that the majority leader made with respect to market?
I can respond. I can respond to the last point that yes, it's a predominantly market rate housing, but it also includes 15 units that are 80% AMI and 5 units that would be capped at 130% AMI. So I think from the developers' standpoint, because they're providing these affordable units, financially, it would not be feasible to produce these affordable units without a pilot structure.
Any other questions from the committee?
I just got one question, it's probably for Dan. So these 20 units, are they going to be eligible for Section 8?
We accept Section 8. That would depend on the Section 8 payment standards in the city of Hudson and whether or not the Section 8 vouchers can be used for a unit up to 8% of AMI. I think based on the current payment standards, I do not believe that they would. But we accept Section 8 vouchers at all our projects.
I know that, but I'm just saying with this project, basically the rent's going to be too high for Section 8, basically. That's what you're saying.
Based on my understanding of the current payment standard, yes.
And then with the 20 units, are they going to be scattered in the facility, or are they going to be segregated to a certain area?
Yes, they'll be scattered.
And then is there also going to be, is there going to be numbers for one bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 in that within those 20 units? Is there going to be a number of 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms offered for families?
Yeah.
In that 20 units?
Yes.
I'd like to follow up on something Dominic just asked about the scattered. So when you identify there will be 20 units, is it going to be 20 specific units, or is it going to be that at any given time there will be 20 units that are available for up to 80% and up to 130? I've seen both models. So which model are you planning to use?
Can you clarify?
Yes. So in one model, developer will say X% of our units will be available at below market rate. It's not tied to a specific unit, but at any given time, that's the percent of units that are below market. The other model says these specific physical units are below market and everything else is market.
Yes, I understand. So yeah, we'll assign units. It's just a lot easier to track and stay on top of. Yes.
So one of the downsides of specific units is that they're not always equal to the other units when you do it, that this is a specific below market unit versus, if you're going into a development, it doesn't matter whether you're below market, above. I've lived in a development where it was done on a percent basis, so that everything really was equal. And it didn't, they just made sure that the section, and at that time they were accepting Section 8, they just made sure that they always met that threshold of X% are available for below market.
Unequal in what sense? In terms of the finishes for the units, or
finishes, maintenance, and so forth.
okay. We will have the same finishes for all units, and we provide the same level of maintenance for all tenants in our building, regardless of income.
But Dan, also how many ADA units are going to be, in that 20%, 20 units, and also in the, other 70, how many ADA units can be available? Turnkey ADA, if you know what I mean.
Let me consult with our architect on that. It's within code compliance. This building was also designed to meet a higher HCR standard. So I can get you those numbers from our architect, but I don't have them.
And you know what I mean by turnkey, right?
Yeah.
You know that, so.
Yeah, not just ADA adaptable, but ADA ready.
Right, so for example, right, so, you know, that is turnkey where the units are already ready for someone like in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Lower, units, lower, utilities, stoves and things like that. So you don't have to, wait for an accommodation letter,
Sure.
right? And on the other side of it, are there gonna be units, so it saves somebody's there and then has an issue where all of a sudden they are now disabled? Normally, units are easily converted to accommodation, so are the units going to be easily converted, in terms of tub cutouts and, and also, tubs and handrail, rails? Is it gonna be easily converted for reasonable accommodation for request?
Yes, I'll confirm the specifics and get a summary from the architect with a full overview of which units are turnkey, which are adaptable, and the extent to which the units more broadly are adaptable.
Thank you.
And is this project viable without the assistance of the IDA?
Oh, no, absolutely not. It would be impossible for us to proceed without the pilot agreement.
I mean, this is more an observation and I think more of a discussion once we have the other study in place. When I look at the rent projections and I look at the comps and the comps are in Greenport and Saugerties, I have to question whether or not I think those are realistic comps compared to the 2 square miles that is Hudson. Having said that, I also realize with more housing coming on the market, that will have an impact on the market rates too. But I think it's something that we need to look at. And, my other observation would be, especially for market rate housing, assuming that it's only going to be a 2% increase from year to year. I mean, I think we've all seen what's happened to rents in Hudson. Again, understanding with additional housing coming on the market will impact that. But I would be interested to see what the finances would look like if we assume this slightly higher increase on the market rate rents from year to year. And, or I know that there have been pilots put in place where it's tied not just to a fixed fee, but to shelter rents. I think it would be interesting to look at potentially a pilot structure that would be at minimum the structure like this, and then do a comparison in terms of what gross shelter rents are, and if gross shelter rents are higher than that, then the pilot payment goes up, because otherwise the taxpayers are continuing to fund, assuming this lower level of income, and if that income actually continues to increase the way that rents have increased in Hudson, I think it would be fair to share that bounty. So that's my observation for now.
Can I ask that?
Sure.
Can you tell me what shelter rents are?
Basically the gross amount that you take in terms of rent, and then it's usually offset by street utilities.
Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, actually, gross shelter rent is just the rent. Usually the calculation is based on gross shelter, less, basically heat, hot water.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else for our consultant?
No, thank you so much.
We appreciate your help, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon again. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
I had 2 other things. One, required board on projects. I have had, as you're all aware, Hudson Development Corporation has announced that they are no longer pursuing the J.L. Edwards School. I have had 2 conversations with CBRE, which is the Albany-based commercial real estate agent that has the listing. They have had contact from 3 developers, and as recently as last Friday, a developer was given a walk through the building. I don't think you can do housing without IDA engagement at any price. And I think that the agency will continue to monitor and report to you on what we're hearing about activity there, because I suspect at some point there will be a deal for someone to acquire it, and there will be an opportunity for the developer to talk with the IDA. And the other item, number 6 on the agenda, required board compliance. These are the acknowledgement of our fiduciary duty and required training. Do you want to address that?
Fiduciary duty, I passed around a sheet, we need to fill that out, and the training's required every time you get a new term.
In your packet, there was a fancy looking,
Yeah, there's something from the
Oh, okay.
with the training dates, there, that's the one you need to sign.
now, the training indicates generally that it's, what, 3 hours or something, but it's only like an hour and
It's
20
like
minutes.
an hour and a half, maybe.
Yeah. So-
And it's online,
But the one that I did last year, for example, that
you're
covers this
fine,
year. Okay.
it's
I'm
every 3 years,
assuming
I'm
I'm
sorry.
not, right?
I think you're not,
I think
I
I'm not.
have it written down someplace,
I got it.
you just did yours, you're.
I did, right.
Yeah. It's
Best thing I heard
because
all
Heather's
day.
been on forever, that's why.
Another webinar.
Big comment has to, not
I have to do
positive. I've done too many boards
I
this
believe
week.
I'm up to.
You probably are. You've been in 1, 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do it together.
You could.
I'll bring margaritas.
No, no drinking.
Does it expressly say that anywhere?
I don't know, the state probably does have something about it.
Or you have to get video, so
But
just make
But
sure.
if you have a thermos there,
Yeah.
One of the interesting things, and you know, Chris Brown, our housing coordinator, has been working on this, but you know, the governor budget yesterday had significant benefits, state funding for housing initiatives across the board. But all of Columbia County is the first county in the state to have all of their municipalities register to become pro-housing communities. We're now going through the certification process and assisting the municipalities in getting there. And at this point, half of them have submitted all the necessary paperwork to become certified. And at the State of the State, I mentioned this to the governor, and she said, that's great, we need to celebrate that. So we're hoping that in the next week or so, there will be a press conference, and Hudson and Columbia County will get featured some in the release somehow for being ahead of the curve on those issues. And we want to thank the mayor and the village mayors and the town supervisors for working with us and with Chris on those initiatives. We continue to, you know, if you don't already live here, and you're going to be in a median household income range, you can't afford to move here. And whether it's in the city or whether it's in the county, the median sale price of a house last month was $530,000.
In the county.
Now, you know, that gets skewed because you could have two $1 million houses sold, but when you take the average of those for the whole year, it's about 480, and it was 240 in 2019.
So are you talking about the median or the average? Because the median is 50% of properties are.
The median sale price is 530. But, you know, if you had a higher percentage of $1 million homes sold in that 30-day period, it could skew it.
Right.
But either way, it's a tough number.
Yeah.
I
I
have
have
nothing
an
further.
operating question.
Yes.
It's very minor, but it's probably for Chris, if anybody, for Chris Hall. Reviewing bank statements and bank reconciliations. Does that have to be done if a member of the finance committee or the audit committee is going to sign off on the bank reconciliations? Does that have to be done in an official meeting?
You may recall our auditor last year thought that, as you know, in common council meetings or town board meetings, you approve the bills. And they actually told us we should be doing that.
Two different things.
And-
There's the bill
Right,
approval, and that was an issue too, because if you cancel the IDA meeting 3 or 4 months in a row, there's no way to get approvals. So I did go ahead and pay those bills, but I did provide a list of the bills that were
Right.
paid, so in retrospect, anybody can question them. This is specific to bank reconciliations, just because, you know, I have access to various members on the finance and or audit committee on a regular basis, and like today, I was sick yesterday, so I wasn't in the office, so I didn't bring the bank rec, so I can't get somebody to sign off on them. So my question is, can they be signed off on, or do they need to be signed off on in an official meeting? And
No.
either way, it's fine, I just didn't
Right,
wanna
subject
make my-
to your auditor having a different opinion. I mean, the bank recs are an audit procedure. It's not the full board that's reviewing the bank recs, right? It's another board member, not the finance director, so that you have a second pair of eyes, a second independent person reviewing those things. So I don't see why that would occur during a meeting. The acceptance of the treasurer's report is different, you know, that's a board function, but the audit process presumably is not a board function.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
And the error or the lack of consistency in the reconciliation of the bank statements would come out in the financial statement ultimately.
So Chris, last year in HCDPA, Logan and I reviewed the reconciliation every month. And then what we did was we report to the HCDPA that the reconciliation has been reviewed and approved.
Okay,
Right.
so we can do that, and then to Mike's point, I mean,
Yeah.
we provide financials
Right,
every
exactly.
meeting to review. So
Right, I mean, the
that's-
idea is you don't want the person writing the checks to be the person that's looking at the bank recs or the only person looking at the bank recs, right?
And I would just
Sure.
rather have it done more frequent basis.
Right.
and-
I mean, and that should be part of an internal control procedure. I don't know if you have a written internal control procedure with your auditor, but you should, right?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And with respect to the funds in the bank, in terms of, I think we kept them in money market, I assume, because we didn't know how, what ability we had to spend those and what we could spend them on. And I know the restrictions on what IDAs can use their funds for, but there are also things that you can use. And Chris, maybe we could do a presentation at a future meeting so that the agency could decide if they wanted to tie up some of the money in longer term investments.
Like Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doge,
Yeah.
if you're gonna do it, do it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I could,
Layer it.
well, I was gonna say, I could even start now. Before that, I could start like 3-month CDs. I know Tankerville County's got a pretty good rate now, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't put all of it in, I'd put
Should
maybe
we approve that? We have what, 500,000 in cash?
something like that, yeah.
Authorize the treasurer to take 50% of that and layer it not longer than 3 months, 6 months.
Or if you're gonna ladder, when you wanna go,
Yeah.
so. if
Like
you're
what,
gonna-
25%?
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
but, yeah, then you want the advantage of,
You
the
take that-
longer you bet, the more interest rate neutral it is, the longer it's laddered, so if you did 24 months, or, you know, that doesn't seem unreasonable.
The question really has been with, if we have the 3 projects, say we have 2 of the 3 projects that are on the table, you're gonna have another $500,000 in fees. The Elks Club project is over 25 million. So I think that the real question is, what can an IDA do with its funds? It can't make grants, is that correct, Chris?
That's correct.
Some
I mean, the
IDAs
short,
buy
the short answer is it can do projects, quote unquote, that are, you know, authorized under the statute. That's the limit of what it can do. That, you know, in some cases that means infrastructure, right? If the IDA decides that certain infrastructure isn't going to happen unless it's, you know, it's financed, if they're aiming at a project that is found to be, you know, necessary to induce a project, those kinds of things are legitimate expenditures. But, you know, the IDA board would have to do that analysis, do the same analysis they do for any project.
In Jefferson County, they own and operate a commerce center, a commerce park. You could
Right.
lease or purchase a building and put it in an incubator. You know, and I think so, you know, I don't think 24 months is too long of a period, but until you really figure out, you know, at what point, if you have $1 million in the bank, what, are you just going to reinvest it? And then ultimately, what are you gonna use it for? And you may wanna wait till you get 3 or 4 million in the bank and do something spectacular with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're talking cash management versus investment, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So,
And we're also talking about opportunities, what opportunities are out there for the investment?
But I do think you need a resolution, Mr. Chairman, to authorize the treasurer to do this, or you could do it at the February meeting with a recommendation of what you would do with.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I'll do that.
If you come up with some options.
Okay.
And then we can vote on those options.
I would do that.
Anything further from the committee? Open it up for public comment. Given that there's no public comment, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.